Let's start with a simple truth. Not every hard day at work requires a professional intervention. But almost every hard day gets a little easier when someone beside you says, "I've been there." That's the quiet power of peer support. And in the world of workplace health and safety, it might be one of the most underused, yet most effective tools we have. Peer support isn't a soft skill or a feel-good add-on, it's a proven research-backed strategy to improve mental health, increase reporting, strengthen team cohesion, and prevent incidents. Because when workers feel seen, heard, and supported, they don't just perform better, they stay safer. Let's break this down. In many workplaces, particularly high-pressure or high-risk ones, there's a culture of silent endurance. You suck it up, push through, keep your head down, don't make it anyone else's problem. But here's the problem with that mindset. Unspoken strain builds up, and when it finally breaks, it often takes safety down with it. That's where peer support steps in. It's not therapy, it's a connection. It's a coworker who notices when you're off your game. It's a colleague who knows how to check in without making it weird. It's a crew that builds a culture where "are you okay" is as normal as "do you have your PPE?" Let's talk about how this looks in the real world. At a logging operation in British Columbia, a faller named Dan had been unusually quiet for weeks. A younger worker, Liam, had gone through peer support training offered by their union. One morning, during their pre-shift tailgate meeting, Liam noticed Dan was slow to gear up, staring at the ground. Instead of brushing it off, he said quietly, "You good to be on saw today? If not, I can cover." Dan looked up. "Actually, I'm not." They switched duties. That day, Dan admitted he hadn't been sleeping. His wife had just left, he was distracted, foggy, and he hadn't known how to bring it up. That conversation may have prevented a serious incident. It also reminded everyone on the crew, looking out for each other doesn't make you soft, it keeps you alive. Peer support isn't new. Military teams, emergency responders, and even offshore oil rigs have used versions of it for years. What's new is the understanding that it belongs in every workplace. In Australia, mining companies in Queensland rolled out a program called Mates in Mining, adapted from the successful Mates in Construction model. It trains workers at all levels to recognize signs of mental distress and offer peer-based support. These aren't just mental health reps, they're everyday workers, fitters, electricians, truck drivers, who are trained to have the conversation most people avoid. The result? Increased reporting, lower suicide risk, and a stronger safety culture rooted in trust, not compliance. One miner described it like this: "Before this, I didn't think we were allowed to talk about this stuff. Now it's just part of the job." Now let's go across the world to Norway. In the offshore oil sector, Statoil, now Equinor, integrated mental health peer liaisons into every rotation. These liaisons, regular crew members with extra training, became a quiet but critical part of safety planning. They weren't therapists, but they knew how to ask, how to listen, and how to point someone to help before things got dangerous. It wasn't mandated from the top. It grew because crews demanded it. They saw what happened when people felt isolated, and what changed when they didn't. Similar success has been seen in Japan, where companies are rethinking the traditional senpai-kohai, mentor-apprentice dynamic into more structured peer support systems. In one Osaka-based automotive supplier, workers created rotating peer duos to check in with one another on both task progress and emotional load. The result wasn't just fewer mistakes on the line, but a notable drop in absenteeism and conflict escalation. In South Africa's mining regions, a peer support model was adapted to address both work-related stress and the emotional toll of personal trauma. After several years of high injury rates linked to distraction and fatigue, one platinum mine launched a peer-led outreach program that trained workers to act as confidential first responders to emotional crises. The company noted that after the program began, incident rates dropped significantly, and more employees sought proactive mental health support before problems worsened. Let's not sugarcoat it, peer support doesn't solve everything. It's not a replacement for trained counselors or organizational change, but it bridges the gap. It catches people early, and most importantly, it changes the culture from the inside out. It starts with trust, and trust doesn't come from policies, it comes from people. And sometimes that trust has to grow from challenges. One foreman in northern Alberta used to roll his eyes at the idea of peer support. He thought it was soft, not his job. Then one day, a crew member he considered one of his toughest workers came to him, eyes rimmed with red, and simply said, "I'm not okay." They sat in his truck for 20 minutes. No clipboard, no agenda, just two people, finally speaking the truth. It changed how that foreman led from that day forward. He began asking, not just for production targets, but how his team was really doing. And for the first time, His crew said they actually looked forward to work. So how do we build it? First, normalize the check-in. Make you good today? A standard part of pre-task planning. Train crews to notice not just PPE compliance, but emotional readiness. Second, give people language. You don't have to be a psychologist to say you don't seem like yourself. Want to talk about it? Or, is there anything I can take off your plate today? Third, protect the space. If someone opens up and gets mocked, dismissed, or punished, that peer support network dies instantly. Leaders need to model safety not just in policy, but in practice. At a construction site in Chicago, a 4-person named Rosa created peer circles every Friday. 10-minute check-ins where crews could share wins, frustrations, or just how the week went. At first it felt awkward, but week after week stories came out. A near miss someone hadn't reported, a family emergency someone had been carrying alone, and slowly the site culture changed. In year 2, Rosa's site had the highest incident reporting rate in the company, and the lowest injury rate. It's not magic, it's people looking out for people. Let's also be honest, not every worker feels safe being vulnerable, especially in cultures where stoicism or toughness are the norm. That's why peer support needs to be modeled, reinforced, and protected, especially by leadership. If someone jokes about mental health, shut it down. If someone says, "You're not yourself lately," back them up. If someone confides in you, thank them. One conversation can change everything. And sometimes that one conversation is the difference between someone staying present or disappearing behind a wall of silence. Let me ask you something. When's the last time you asked a coworker how they were doing and really listened to the answer? When's the last time someone asked you, what would change at your job if that started happening every day? And if the answer is, I can't remember, maybe it's time. Because safety isn't just about systems, it's about people, and people need each other. Coming up in episode 7, we'll close the series with a powerful reminder. The mind and body don't clock in separately. We'll explore how mental health is woven into every part of physical safety, and how seeing them as one could transform your workplace forever. Until then, check in, look out, and remember, you don't have to be a counselor to care, you just have to show up.